make a statement and to reiterate in the strongest terms that leaks are unacceptable. The budget had too much speculation, there were too many leaks, and much of those leaks and speculation were inaccurate, very damaging, as well as the IT security issues, Dame Meg, which you've already mentioned, where the entire budget was inadvertently published an hour before I stood up to present the budget to the House. The OBR's report also noted that the spring statement had been accessed early as well. I want to stay on the record how frustrated I am and have been by these incidents and the volume of speculation and leaks. And that is why I'm doing something about it, because we cannot allow this to happen again. A leak inquiry is underway with my full support, being led by the Permanent Secretary at the Treasury, and we are also conducting a review of the Treasury security processes to inform future fiscal events. We also clearly need to look explicitly at physical IT security. The Treasury have asked the National Centre for Cyber Security to undertake a forensic examination of recent economic and financial outlooks. The outcome of that review, of course, will be public, and we will write to you with the outcomes of that review. Okay. It was a leak.
You're really clear it was a leak.
I'm absolutely categorical that was not an authorised briefing. It was incredibly damaging and frustrating. That is why we have a leak inquiry. Okay. It was not briefing that was signed off by me, any of my ministers or officials. It was unacceptable. That is why there is a leak inquiry going on.
Okay.
Yes, and
what led to those being meaningfully different?
Yeah, yes, there was, and the reason for that is that the OBR do costings of all of the changes that we're making, as well as there being interactions between the tax measures and other economic variables, whether that be GDP, consumption, inflation. And so all of this is changing. It was a big budget. I think we can all agree that. And every measure both has its own impact, but also a cumulative impact. So there was a lot more information between those sets. A couple of things. First of all, in the speech in the 4th of November, I was very clear that everyone would have to make a contribution. And you saw that in the budget on the 26th of November. We froze for an additional 3 years the tax thresholds, national insurance and income tax, that the previous government had frozen for 7 years. We extended that for a further 3 years. That's not a breach of the manifesto, but it is asking everybody to contribute more. I was very upfront about that.
Raise taxes for working people.
And I was very upfront in my speech in Parliament when I delivered the budget that would mean that everyone was having to contribute in exactly the way that I set out in my speech on the 4th of November. So I stand by very much the speech I made. I said in that speech that we were going to cut the cost of living. We did 0.4, 0.5 off of inflation next year, as Claire Lombardelli said to you yesterday. Cutting NHS waiting lists, we've already reduced them by 250,000. We protected NHS spending in the budget, and also cutting the debt and the deficit, which you can see in the OBR and Treasury documents. But I was also very clear in that speech, both that we would need to build more fiscal resilience given global turbulence, which we did, taking the headroom to £21.7 billion, but also that we would have to ask everyone to contribute.
Did you decide to change the decision not in terms of raising the rate of income tax in those 10 days?
The Prime Minister has been clear that that was one of the things that we looked at, but we were also looking at the tax thresholds. In the end, because of the decisions we made on higher value council tax, on property and dividends, and a number of other measures, we were able to keep the contribution from working people as low as we possibly could.
Did you make that decision, or did the Prime Minister?
Well, the Prime Minister and I met 2-3 times a week during the budget process. That is not always the case between Chancellors and Prime Ministers, I recognise that, but there is a very close partnership between myself and the Prime Minister, and so we took him through all of these all of the numbers and all of the options, and we decided it together as a team, because that is what the Prime Minister and I am.
Thank you.